The Catholic Echo podcast is a weekly podcast discussing what's happening now in the Catholic Diocese of Youngstown. Bishop David Bonner and members of our diocesan community discuss your burning spiritual questions. The Catholic Echo podcast is produced by the Communications Department of the Diocese of Youngstown with support from the Annual Diocesan Appeal. It can be found on catholicecho.org, Facebook, and YouTube. Your host is Collin Vogt.
Hello, and welcome to the Catholic Echo podcast. I'm your host, Collin Vogt, and today we're going to be talking to people around the diocese about some of their unique parish festivals. Our first guest is Debbie Kruis, who is working on the famous Ox Roast Fair at St. Joseph's. Debbie, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. I feel very honored to be able to do this.
First of all, just tell us a little bit about you. How did you come to be part of the planning committee for the Ox Roast? Did you grow up in the Diocese of Youngstown? Did you move from somewhere else? How did you kind of get involved in this?
When I grew up in Talmadge, which is a small city right outside of Akron, and that was the Cleveland Diocese. Mm-hmm. And I went through Catholic school, and I went through high school, and when I was graduating high school, I met my husband, who lived in Mantua. And we just slowly started building our life out here. We got married in St. Joseph Church. My children were all baptized and confirmed in St. Joseph Catholic Church. Mm-hmm. And when our kids were school age, we had a very low tuition in exchange for working at the fair, which was all new to us and everything. I mean, we had went to the fair, but it was all new to us. Uh-huh. So we just kind of went where they told us and worked whatever. And just over the last 50 years, it just kind of evolved from one thing to the next, from working a booth here, working another booth there, to kind of helping set the event up, setting up tents, bringing in food, doing what needed to be done. And it just kind of evolved in its own self after being there a while, and then getting on the setup group and the core group, we call it, kind of makes most of the decisions. It just kind of evolved into my husband pretty much runs the outside grounds, organizing people, getting volunteers to help out there, and I kind of run the office.
Amazing. So you've been kind of involved for a huge part of this tradition, is that right?
Absolutely. This is our 61st, and I've been involved with 50 of those 61 years.
That's amazing. Well, so then let me ask you my next question. So the Ox Roast Fair has been a tradition at St. Joseph's since 1964. As you said, it's your 61st year. Tell us a little bit about the history of the fair, how it got started, what's kept it going all this time.
Okay, well, as far as getting it started, we had a small Catholic church in the village of Mantua, and across the street from that church was another little church called Hilltop Christian Church. And back in the early 60s, real early 60s, St. Joseph decided to have just a teeny tiny little street fair just for the community. Yeah. And the church across the street said, well, we'd like to do that too. So they kind of had that. And for a few years, 3 or 4 years, they had it there. Our money was being collected. It was basically a fundraiser for us to build a new church and a school. So then they purchased some acreage just maybe a mile from this location. They bought some acreage and they started to build the new church and the school with the help of the Knights Columbus and other fundraisers. And once they got those, then we just had a little complex, and then it grew from there. And at that point, it also gave us more acres, lots of acreage to have a fair. And it did start out small, just a few booths here and there, and a few rides. And they tried new things. Some things worked, some things different. Uh-huh. They didn't work. And it just has grown into a fair that now brings in around 30,000 people for 3 days every year.
Oh my gosh. Wow, that is enormous. I didn't realize it was so many. I mean, that's incredible. So the Ox Roast, was that the, original idea? Is that something that came about a bit later?
No, it's what it was, because as soon as they got the new property and started building the new church, This is what the ox roast is famous for. They dug 3 big pits in the ground, and they put slab wood and chunks of wood in there, get it up to a certain temperature.
Mm-hmm.
The roast beef that we get is in big, huge roasts. It's wrapped in muslin. It's got a netting put over it, and they're dropped down in the hole, and they cook for a day, day and a half until all the beef is cooked. Then it's taken out of the pits in the ground, and it's taken into our school building where they unwrap it and start slicing it and getting it ready for the fair.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That is such a cool tradition. I've never heard of anything like that being done before.
The people are so intent on keeping that tradition. We're probably on, the same family has done it. And this is probably the 5th generation of that family that cooks the meat. That is what we are famous for, our roast ox, roast beef.
Yeah. That is so cool. I would love to try some of that if I get the chance.
Well, you're going to have to come out and visit us.
I know.
And then it had just evolved into other things.
Uh-huh.
And now it takes up a good part of the property for that 3 days. We have tractor pulls. We have semi-truck pulls.
Yeah.
We have rides. We have a jungle bob that comes and brings all his critters. These huge, I don't know, cockroaches I call them, but big frogs and snakes. And he brings all this stuff. The kids get to see them and touch them. And it's just a big community fair that brings everybody out from all over the neighborhood. It's not even really considered, if people don't look at it as a church fair. It is the Mantua Fair, even though it's St. Joseph Church Ox Roast Fair. They look at it as the community fair. And it doesn't matter what the situation is, that fair goes on.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had storms that have tore the fair down. People stayed after the storm stopped, put the fair back up. One year we did that 3 times because of the storms.
Wow.
We've had power outages. If the power goes out, I guarantee you within 30 minutes we're up and running again, because all the farmers and all the people that have businesses, they come in with generators. They do not let anything stop this fair. We could not have a better community to have a fair.
Well, that leads me into the next question that I had. As you would know from having done this for over 50 years, you're going to face a lot of challenges putting it together and, just in the execution of the fair. So what are some of the challenges that you guys have faced when planning the fair, putting it together, and how have you overcome those challenges?
The biggest challenges we're finding today is life is different. Mm-hmm. It's even different from when my children were younger. It's hard to find volunteers. People are so involved now in their careers, whether it's a one-person family, a single parent and their children, a young family, their family's top priority, then it's careers and keeping everything in their house going, and their kids are all involved in sports. It's hard to get people to find a niche to give a couple hours here and there for time. So that's the biggest obstacle we ever have, is just trying to find people to run the booths. Everything is there, it's just turnkey, but you're putting in, I think we figured it out that you're putting in over the weekend probably about 26 hours, 28 hours should you stay. But just finding enough volunteers is the hardest part.
This is something that every church is kind of asking for, is for people to step up and to take the opportunity to be the one to do the volunteering. Because as you mentioned, you have 30,000 people that come to this fair. It shouldn't be that hard to find people that care enough about it to contribute their time. So it would be...
You know what? It's just finding the people. People, for the most part, I have found that most people just want to be asked, but trying to find the right people to ask, or people you think might have some time. We almost always never have a problem at the 11th hour. They show up.
Yeah.
But it would be nice if we could know that up front and get people. It would be a little bit less stressful. We somehow or other, it works. It always works.
Yeah.
They come from somewhere. I don't know where, but it always works. And we'll get people just the last day, 2 days. Hey, can I come and help? I've only got a few hours. Can I come in? Absolutely. Come on over.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, that, makes me think, so you have such an amazing community there, and without that community, it wouldn't be possible. So
No, absolutely not.
aside from, bringing in funds to help support the church and everything, what do you think the fair brings to your community? What does it bring to your church and to your town?
It brings family. It really brings family, friends. Everybody plans on meeting there. There is nobody that does not contribute either monetarily, physically, whatever. It's just, it brings everybody together, always. And a good thing is we are still such a small community. We have a very, very, very low crime rate. Everybody watches out for everybody. And everybody's there to help anybody. I can remember at one time, about a year and a half ago, our tractor broke and we were getting financing put together to buy a new tractor for mowing the grass.
Yeah.
People showed up every 2 or 3 times to mow the grass just so we didn't have to worry about it.
Wow.
People they just do. I mean, they don't have to be church members. It's the community. It's businesses. Somebody made sure that grass was mowed every week. I don't know if they got together and talked and said, hey, I'll go over this week, you go next week. But every week until we got that tractor purchased, somebody mowed the grass. It's just how it is. If we had somebody go off the road in the snow, somebody backed his truck up, brought out a chain, hooked him up, pulled him out of the ditch, and on they went. That's just what this community does.
Yeah.
It's just such a unique community.
Yeah. And just being a part of the Catholic Church and the tradition that we have as a church, our liturgical tradition, as we, the U.S. is becoming increasingly secular and people are, increasingly not affiliated with any religion. And I think it just kind of breaks apart the social fabric in a sense, because when you have shared tradition, you know what other people value. When you see people at the parish fair, the festival, you know that they care about the same values and the same virtues that you value. And
Right.
So it creates a safer community, I think, that way, because you know who's around you. You know that you share something with these people. And I think it's really unfortunate that with younger generations, such as mine, people see tradition as this waste of time that doesn't provide anything tangible. And I think that's just very myopic, because it does provide connection with your community, with other people, and that connection provides things in itself too. So it's so amazing to see a tradition that's lasted for 5 generations of the same family, as you mentioned, that still is doing the ox roast, is just an amazing thing, and it brings such vibrancy and connection to the community. So it's really amazing that it's still going strong.
And I really and truly hope that it can. I mean, right now it's still very strong, and we have brought in, I think the biggest thing, I know you had asked me about how would you go about this. I think the biggest thing is, if you ever want to do something like this, you need to go and work at one. See what they're doing, see what it takes. It's not as scary as if you walked in and said, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm now going to be the president of the core group or whatever. Everybody comes in real slow, doing what they can, and you are 100% right. I mean, it takes a village, and we've got it. And everybody is there to help. And I don't think, for the most part here, and it's other places I'm sure too, but nobody looks at, oh, that's the Catholic Church. Everybody, I mean, like I said, there's a Christian church that was across the street from the old St. Joseph Church, and they have a big chicken dinner every year.
Oh, yeah.
It's just as popular as it was back when they started it, back in the 60s when we did.
Yeah.
It's just nobody looks at anything around here as secular. And we have people that come from the other churches and help us out, and we go and help them out.
Yeah. So would you say that your faith is a little bit more involved in all aspect of your life there?
Absolutely. And it doesn't matter what you need. All you have to do is ask. It's just there. And the monies that we make, it goes for a whole lot of good things. I mean, not that it has anything to do with the fair, but it came from that. When we have people in the parish or anywhere, recipients have nothing to do with the fair, but we get a lot of people when somebody gets ill, goes in a nursing home, passes away. We take all their medical equipment. If you would call me up and say, hey, I moved my mother in with me and I need a wheelchair and I need a ramp, we got it. It's yours.
Yeah.
They'll bring it out. They'll set it up. It's yours. All we ask is when you're done with it, give it back to us. And if you have something that you have purchased, give it to us. We pass that around to anybody. It does not matter what church they belong to. It doesn't matter where they live. If they need it, all they have to do is call and ask, and we supply it.
Yeah. That sort of thing happens in a community where people know each other and don't just know each other's names, but really understand their place in that community. And
Correct.
Things like this fair and people working together on the fair, not just attending, but helping to bring it about, having a shared project, a shared goal really helps bring that community together. And then that helps people enjoy the advantages of living in a community. Everyone in the US right now, across the country is so isolated. We don't have communities that we're a part of. And that's why
there's no cohesiveness. It's just everybody is out for themselves. And they're missing out on so much.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much they're missing out. Nobody says you have to be a staunch, go to church 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Every time there's a mass, you need to be there.
Yeah.
You need to carry your Bible. You need to pound it. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
You just have to believe and feel that there's a greater something out there.
Yeah.
You may not have to say, I believe in God, but you got to believe in something. And if you believe in something, it's going to get you there. And I don't care what church it is or anywhere else. If it's something that brings people together and unifies them and gives our kids something to do and is there to help people, that's the whole thing. That's what the whole plan's about. It doesn't matter where it comes from.
Well, it's like you say, people's first priority is their family, and that's a good thing. But the career and the economics is the next priority. I don't want to blame people for that because I don't think it's anyone's fault. That's become the economic reality for so many families is that, they have to spend so much time working and both parents have to work and, that's certainly not their fault. But I think there is an element of people worshiping money. That has become our cultural value is money and job and career. And that's certainly out there too. But I think that it's kind of fading with my generation and younger where people are saying, why am I giving my whole life to career, to a job that doesn't care about me? I would be replaced tomorrow by my job, but my family would miss me for the rest of their lives if something happened to me. And I think that realignment of values is occurring. So I just want to encourage anyone out there to have faith. Things are turning around, I think, a little bit, and people are remembering the value of having a community like this. So go out and volunteer at your parish festival if you have one. If you don't have one, volunteer at somebody else's or start one there. You have the opportunity to do something for your parish community, and it's going to be appreciated. Last thing, Debbie, I wanted to ask before we go is just for some of the details about the Ox Roast this year. When is it going to be held? What's the cost of entry? And what are some things people can expect?
The Ox Roast Fair is always on the 3rd weekend of July, full weekend of July. This year it's going to be on the 18th, 19th, and 20th. The only fee that we really charge is parking. That's $5. Or you can bring canned goods and donate them to our local food cupboard here. And parking is $3. It's free to watch all the rides and the entertainment. We have quite a few large bands that we bring in. We have one major entertainment every night during the fair. Those are all free to watch. We have karaoke. Like I said, we have Jungle Bob and his reptiles. There's all kinds of food throughout that you can purchase. The only thing that it costs you is your $5 to get in, and then whatever you buy when you're here. You can buy one of our ox roast sandwiches. You can go in and have an ox roast dinner. You can have an ox roast sundae.
A sundae?
What it is, it's a big mound of mashed potatoes, and it's got slices of beef and gravy, and it's topped off with a tomato on top.
Gotcha, okay. I thought you were going to tell me something really out there.
Yep, we have a 5K run on Saturdays. We have garden tractor pulls on Saturday afternoons. We have semi pulls and truck pulls in the evening. Those are all free to watch. Rides, you buy wristbands. That, and for the most part, pretty much it. I mean, with just the grounds are full, and especially in the evenings from about 8 o'clock to 11, anywhere near the entertainment booths, it's very, very hard to get to. You can stand back and listen, but you can't get up there and dance and get right up close because they're packed. And I don't know if you've ever heard of Disco Inferno. They're pretty well known countrywide.
Oh, yeah?
They have a massive following. We have them every year. It's just packed.
That's a band, right?
Yep, that's a big band. Right. We have an Eagles tribute band. We have local musicians that do that. We have some garage bands. There's something going on pretty much all the time.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a blast. I definitely hope that I can come out there and enjoy ox roast sundae.
Get out here, you look me up, I'll hook you up with the sandwich.
All right, that sounds great. Debbie, thank you so much for joining us today. It was an absolute pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I do hope you can come, and I hope that some of the people that hear this podcast, I hope that they decide to come out. Just try it for a day, couple hours, see what you think. At least it'll give you some ideas to if you want to go back and try and accomplish it. It's a wonderful thing. It brings us in quite a bit of fundraising money and allows us to do the things that we want to do.
Amazing. Well, Debbie, thank you again, and I wish you well. The Catholic Echo podcast will continue after this.
Did you know that the Catholic Echo magazine is delivered 10 times per year to 52,000 Catholic households in Northeast Ohio? That is more than 150,000 people. And the Catholic Echo website, catholicecho.org, has been averaging 30,000 views per month since it launched in February 2023. Advertise your business, special event, or service with the Catholic Echo in print or online. Email catholicecho@youngstowndiocese.org. Advertising discounts are available for Catholic institutions, as well as for businesses that commit to 5 or 10 issues in a year. Email catholicecho@youngstowndiocese.org or visit the advertising tab at catholicecho.org for more information. It's time for Patron Saints of the Diocese of Youngstown with your Bishop, David J. Bonner.
St. Isidore the Farmer was born in Madrid, Spain, and worked his whole adult life on one farm. He married Maria de la Cabeza, who is also a canonized saint, and they had one child who died at an early age. He was known for attending daily Mass, praying while working in the fields, and providing food for the poor. St. Isidore is the patron saint of farmers, rural communities, and St. Isidore Parish in Louisville and Harrisburg. His feast day is May 15th, so happy feast day of St. Isidore to all farmers, rural communities, and our friends in Louisville and Harrisburg. St. Isidore the Farmer, pray for us.
Welcome back to the Catholic Echo podcast. Our next guest is Scott Schulick, who is chairman of the Italian Festival Committee at Our Lady of Mount Carmel Basilica here in Youngstown. Scott, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks, Colin. Great to be here today.
So how long have you been a parishioner at the Basilica? How did you get involved with the church in the first place?
Sure. Technically, I have been an official parishioner for about 20 years, but my family has roots in the parish that go back about 5 generations. So my
Oh my gosh.
grandparents were at Our Lady of Mount Carmel at sort of the founding and the inception, and my great-grandparents, my grandparents, my parents now belong to Our Lady of Mount Carmel as well. I joined 20 years ago, and my nephew, the next generation, was baptized there about 10 years ago. So we span 6 generations at Our Lady of Mount Carmel.
Wow, that's amazing. So that kind of introduces the idea of the Italian festival, because I know there's a great story about the Italian festival at Our Lady of Mount Carmel, and that this basilica is really closely knit with the Italian community in Youngstown. So can you just tell me a little bit about how the Italian festival got started and why it has such significance to the basilica?
Sure. So our festival was started in 1999 by one of our parishioners, Tony Trolio, really with the idea of promoting the church, but also promoting Italian culture and heritage to keep that alive. This is a very family-oriented festival. It's a very culturally oriented festival, but it's also a celebration of faith in the church. So maybe a little bit different than the typical festival that's just trying to raise money for the parish or for the parish coffers. We're really promoting our heritage, our culture, and our faith life through our festival.
How did it catch on? What was the initial reaction to it? Was it a big hit right away?
Yes, it was. Actually, I think it was the first 2 festivals were actually just held indoors in the parish social hall. And there was such an outpouring and such enthusiasm for it that it quickly moved outdoors, which created space both indoor and outdoor for entertainment, for food, for lots of things that we do today. It's been kept alive by the enthusiasm of not just the parishioners, but the community, and not just the Italian-American community, but the people who enjoy Italian culture as well, who live in the Youngstown area.
And that would be quite a few people because there's such a great community there, and so many good restaurants and so many people that are enthusiastic about sharing that culture there. And it's really a beautiful thing about Youngstown for sure.
Right. We have well over 10,000 people that attend our festival over 4 days. So.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about the festival itself then. So you said it began in 1999, but as we were talking a little bit before the show, this is your 25th festival. So I just want to ask about, what happened there were a couple of years there that you guys didn't do it, and now bringing it back. How has that been going?
Right, absolutely. So, unfortunately, because of COVID and the pandemic, we had 2 years where we did not host a festival live in 2020 and 2021. We did, however, continue a festival raffle so that people were still engaged and tied to the festival to try to supplement, what we did not have for the parish those years. But we came back very strong in 2022, and here we are a few years later, and things are, for the most part, back to normal. And we're very excited about celebrating this milestone 25th festival.
And has it come back right to the same size that it was before COVID?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, we've made some modifications to, the times of the festival and, maybe some of the aspects of the festival, just because that gave us pause to kind of rethink how we wanted to do things. But I would say that everything you see today are the things you saw prior to that pause, and some of those things have definitely been enhanced.
Yeah, I think taking the opportunity to pause and rethink some things and change a few details here and there can really help refine year over year, what you're doing. And sometimes you get so caught up in the planning of it every year that you don't really have a cycle of breaking down how it went and, adjustments that you can make. So being able to do that is kind of a blessing in disguise. It's hard to say anything that came out of COVID was a blessing, obviously, but being able to make some necessary changes too is a good thing.
Exactly.
And so you said that with the 25th festival, you guys are doing some special things. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what makes the festival unique, and then what you're doing this year that makes it even more special?
I think our festival is unique for that very reason, as I mentioned, that we're really focused on culture. I'll give you a great example, entertainment. We take our entertainment very seriously. We want to hire musicians and entertainers that are Italian-American entertainers, Italian entertainers who promote, both the folk music, the historic music, but also, the modern music as well that, Italian-Americans and people who love our culture, want to hear. So you're not going to come to our festival and get a country band or a rock band. That's not what we're about. And, that's been a long discussion, because people come to festivals for different reasons, and it might attract a different kind of audience, but we've been very rigid in keeping our entertainment focused on Italian culture. We've also, for the most part, kept our vendors selling mostly Italian food. Now, we do have some typical festival food. I mean, you have to have French fries, and you have to have fried dough and things like that, but for the most part, you're coming to vendors that are also very much focused on a variety of Italian food. So I think that's what differentiates the festival in terms of the entertainment and the food. But also, I mean, we have a religious component. We have the Basilica open for prayer.
Yeah.
We have tours of the historic Basilica. We also have a tent at the gate of the festival, actually before you approach the gate, that's been run by the Legion of Mary, and it has a variety of pamphlets about Catholicism, Catholic saints, the church, rosary beads, all those things that are icons of our faith. So that's a part of the festival that we take very seriously.
Well, obviously, Italian culture is very closely interlinked with the history of the church as well. And speaking of which, I know that, as I kind of mentioned earlier, the Italian community was instrumental in building the Basilica. Is that correct?
Yes. I mean, the Basilica was, founded in 1908, and the current building was built and completed, I believe, in 1923. So, our physical plant is, over 100 years old. And from the church and the rectory, it expanded to the social hall, and now encompasses the entire city block as the parish acquired land over the decades to develop the physical plant and grounds that we have.
I feel like having that level of integration with the community is so vital to not only keeping the church as kind of a center for the community, but the culture of that community as well. And I'm wondering about the reaction that you have from people who come. What do they take away from this celebration of Italian culture as well as faith?
I think they have come to love our parish community, our grounds, the welcoming atmosphere that we strive to provide to all who visit. I think they truly enjoy the consistency of the festival, the family-orientedness, the safety of the festival, and it's a good, clean, old-fashioned festival, and I think that's what they've come to appreciate.
One of the previous guests that we were speaking with had mentioned that their biggest challenge with their festival is actually just getting enough volunteers to work for it, and not even just getting the volunteers, because people will come up, the day before, hey, how can I help? That kind of thing, but being able to schedule them far enough in advance. So do you have similar challenges, or what challenges have you faced over the years planning this festival, and how have you met those challenges?
Sure, it's a grand challenge, Collin. I mean, every year we are looking for, more able bodies and minds to help staff the festival. Over 4 days, people get tired and exhausted and worn out. So, the festival that we operate is 4 days, but, there's the planning that really starts almost a year before. We finish one festival and take a few months off, and we're starting the new festival. So there's monthly meetings ahead. We have chair people of various committees that are working on our Italian auction or our raffles or all these things that require donations and sponsorships ahead of the festival, not to mention the 3 or 4 days before the festival with the electrical setup, the water setup, the tents, the chairs, bringing in the vendors, the physical labor, the setup. And after we get to that point, now we have to actually start the festival and have workers and volunteers. So some of our volunteers, our parishioners, have been volunteering for all 25 years.
Yeah, wow.
We always try to recruit younger members. So remember, everybody who started 25 years ago is now 25 years older. We need the youth. We need the younger members to participate. So we're constantly trying to recruit new people to engage with the festival, because it is such a big part of what we do as a parish on an annual basis.
And trying to recruit those younger members, are they, getting involved with it? Is it a challenge to get them to volunteer, or how is that going?
They are, but it also is a challenge. I mean, you figure younger people are not retired, so they're working. That's one issue that takes a lot of their time. If they have children or a family, their children have activities sometimes after school or in the evening or on the weekends. So that cuts into volunteer time that's available as well. So I think younger families and younger people are stretched in ways that some of our older and retired volunteers aren't. So we have that balance in that mix, and we try to plug people in where they can help, and for the limited limited time they might have to be able to help us.
Yeah, especially now when, it's common that both parents have to work. That presents a challenge, and there's such a emphasis on extracurricular activities at school. I kind of feel like maybe there's a better balance that can be found with being involved with the church and treating that as sort of your extracurricular stuff. I talk to so many parents that are always saying they always plan these games on Sunday and then it's hard to make it to church. And it's like, that's because our church life isn't integrated with our public life here in the U.S.
Right.
But that's a whole nother conversation. I won't get into that.
Right, exactly.
But aside from the money, obviously, that, having a big fundraising festival brings to the church, what do you think it brings to your parish community?
Oh, well, there's no doubt what the benefits beyond the financial side of it are far greater. I think it's a faith-filled journey for us. We begin our meetings and close our meetings with prayer. It's almost become an apostolate of the parish in that regard. At the same time, the camaraderie, the friendships created from working together, working hard together over the period of months and the concentrated time during the festival days. It strengthens families, it strengthens friendships, and it strengthens the commitment to the church and our faith. And I think those byproducts are far more valuable than maybe the financial profit that we have as a result of those 4 days. And of course, the proliferation of the Italian-American culture in our society.
Absolutely. Well, that sounds very enticing. I want to go myself. I love these community gatherings. They're so special, And speaking of which, so there are many parishes that do not have such a long-standing tradition with festivals, and I'm just wondering if there's any advice that you might pass along to them for people that want to get started with it. What are some things they should consider?
Well, I think first and foremost, think about your mission. If it's about fundraising only, this is a lot of work for the amount of money that is often generated. It's significant, but it doesn't come without a lot of work. There might be other fundraising opportunities that could be successful without all the physical and mental labor that goes into this.
Yeah.
But also, again, think about mission. What are we trying to accomplish? Are we trying to bring our parishioners together in the ways that I mentioned to work together, to build community? Are we trying to promote something within our community, as in our case, like proliferation of the Italian-American culture and tradition? So I think mission should drive what you're doing, because it's a vast undertaking, and it's not something that, once the ball starts rolling down the hill, it's hard to bring back if you can't pull it off.
Last question I have for you. Just give us some details about the Italian Festival. When's it going to be this year? What's the cost for entry, and what can people expect?
Sure. So the festival is July 24th through 27th at the Our Lady of Mount Carmel Basilica Church grounds. And our theme this year is Pellegrini d'Esperanza, which is the Italian version of Pilgrims of Hope. So we've embraced, what Pope Francis deemed in this Jubilee year, the Pilgrims of Hope, and now continued by Pope Leo. And so we're really excited about our theme and celebrating our 25 years of producing the festival. It's $5 to get in. You can buy tickets at some of the outlets that we have: Rulli Brothers South and West, Jimmy's Italian Specialties, and Cornersburg Italian Specialties when we get closer to the festival. And you can buy a book, which if you buy a book of tickets, you get an extra ticket in there. But $5 admission, you can pay at the door, or you can buy a pre-sale ticket. We've got the food, we've got the entertainment, we've got the headliners like Moreno Fruzzetti. We have a lot of local and regional Italian bands and music. We have local bands as well. So we've got great entertainment scheduled this year. We have a wonderful kids area. We have the best food. We have our taverna, which has Italian cocktails. We've got a lot of other vendors that sell various wares too. So a lot going on.
That sounds like so much fun. I just wanted to ask a little bit more about the theme that you mentioned, the Pilgrims of Hope. What are you incorporating from that theme?
We were using the logo from the Jubilee year on our T-shirts for our volunteers this year. We're incorporating the theme, throughout what we're doing, and we're reciting the Jubilee prayer during our meetings and things like that. So we're just, trying to keep the focus so that when people come, they know that this is a special year for the entire Catholic Church, not just Our Lady of Mount Carmel.
Well, this is a Jubilee year for the festival as well, wouldn't it be?
Yes, because indeed, it is.
25. Right. Well, that's amazing. Well, that sounds like such a blast. I hope I can be there as well, and I wish you the best of luck. So, Scott, thank you so much for joining us today. It was an absolute pleasure.
It's been a pleasure to be with you, Collin, as well. Good luck.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Catholic Echo podcast. To hear our previous episodes and to find more information, please go to catholicecho.org.
The Catholic Echo podcast is a production of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Youngstown. Your host is Collin Vogt. Have a blessed day, and may God be with you.